Good morning, welcome to Jasiri. It's Tuesday, and today we're diving into a story that's rocked financial circles and left thousands of Nigerians in shock. The crash of CBEX, a so-called investment platform promising fast, high returns, has once again exposed the growing threat of Ponzi schemes in Nigeria and the desperation, misinformation, and regulatory gaps that keep fueling them. From MMM to MBA Forex and now CBEX, the pattern keeps repeating. But why do these platforms keep thriving? Why are so many Nigerians still vulnerable to get-rich-quick schemes? And where's the line between digital innovation and financial fraud? Today, we're unpacking the rise and fall of CBEX. We're asking the hard questions about regulation, about trust, and about financial literacy in Nigeria's digital economy. This is Jasiri. We'll get into all of that shortly. But first, on Monday, Nigerians learned that the State House had allocated 10 billion naira.
Wait now, guys. Oh, no. Now. I didn't know you were going there so quick.
I don't have energy.
You didn't prepare us.
I cannot prepare you. I want to rip the band-aid off. Thank you. 10 billion naira in the 2025 approved budget for the installation of a solar mini grid at the presidential villa. Now, while in a regular situation, this would be applaudable. As it happens, this is raising eyebrows and also tempers. The reason being that earlier this month, it was reported that the federal government had intentions of ending the importation of solar panels. It stated that it was time to end the importation of photovoltaic solar panels, an import trend that has cost the nation over 200 billion naira. Now, this stemmed from the desire to boost local manufacturing and turn Nigeria, especially Lagos, into a renewable energy hub. While speaking at a roundtable with the Lagos State government, Abba Aliyu, the managing director of the Rural Electrification Agency, highlighted the urgency of the shift. In his words, he described it as a total war to domesticate the production of solar technologies. The Minister of Science and Technology, Uche Naji, had backed the move, stating that the government would enforce Executive Order No. 5 to restrict solar imports and support local production through NASINI and private investors. Now, the REA, however, raised concerns, warning that a certain halt in imports could harm millions who are dependent on solar energy.
Now, last week, the Lagos State Deputy Governor, Obafemi Hamzat, spoke out after his electricity bill jumped from 2.7 million naira to a shocking 29 million naira in just 1 month. Despite purchasing a prepaid meter to avoid estimated billing, he found it nearly impossible to convert to an accurate metering system. Now, in a roundtable discussion between the Lagos State government and the Rural Electrification Agency, the REA, Hamzat emphasized the adverse effect of the crazy billing system, which has left many residents facing financial strain. Now, he pointed out a case in Koka Aguda where a man's annual rent of 2 million naira was surpassed by an electricity bill of 2.8 million naira. The billing system, largely based on estimates, has created an overwhelming burden on households, forcing people to pay for energy they didn't even consume.
Okay.
Where do we start from?
Do we go from
Honestly, Tolu, what you do,
10 billion.
You know, when we talk about these things and I look at the state of the nation, I just feel very overwhelmed and wonder that is there any
light at
the end of the tunnel, really?
The sun at this point.
No, there's solar.
Because if our government is now reverting to solar panels and stuff to generate energy, that means that electricity is something that will be unreachable in the near future. Yeah. Because if the highest echelon is not using electricity, so what is going to happen to the lowest on the rung of the ladder?
I think
that means it's unachievable for a lot of, it will become unachievable. That they will come out and say that they are going to use that much money to install solar panels and this and that. And now we have discos, we have Gencos, and electricity is getting more expensive.
Do you know what that tells us, Lolo? That the fact that you say you're going to solar, that means your electricity system has failed.
That's what I'm saying.
There's no electricity system.
That's what I'm
Suddenly
saying.
you're realizing that it is touching you. That wow, oh my God, something that has happened over the years. People have been complaining and been struggling under the weight, the burden of the increased
increase tariff every other day. They do it like it's tembo.
Like they do TikTok.
I don't know how it is in your area, but do you know that light has really dropped?
Of course.
Before I used to like be commending them in the year 2023, I think end of 2022, that light has become stable. Or if this is something that we see moving forward, everybody in Nigeria will find it a little easier. But we're finding out that we're not even getting the adequate supply. You are paying exorbitantly for
Was it not just last week that I think it was the Minister of Electricity was talking about how much money they had made? And people were like, you're talking about how much money you've made, but Nigerians are screaming because it's like you're drawing blood on us. And I think really a lot of people, when it comes to this conversation about the State House, it's almost it feels a bit hypocritical.
Yes.
You want to ban solar panel importation to boost local production. We've been there, we've done that, we've unfortunately failed at it. Why? We've done it with rice. We've tried it with, I think it was in milk. We've tried it with many things. Until the local production capacity is at least maybe 50 to 60 or 70% of the need, then you ban. But we want to ban when we're barely meeting, when we're barely even scratching.
Is that not why corruption
we need?
But is that not why corruption is thriving? Because you ban all these substances, you ban all these things, you ban all these equipment, you ban everything. But that is when our borders become more porous, because every trafficker of anything will find it so easy to bring it in. The rice, turkey, chicken, all those things happen. But when they put a ban on this thing, that is when you see a surge in
it feels like they're
corruption, importation from all corners.
It feels like they're more interested in the actual ban than implementing, maybe an alternative and even seeing through with it. And it's like they're so fast with it because they want to boost the budget. Okay, want to ban this, and then before you know, it's 10 billion naira for this.
But that 200 billion is not automatically going to come into the economy. There are not enough producers of solar panels. There was a time when I'm not sure what the tariff was, but it was a low tariff so that people would bring them in. But it's the same, not this government, I believe it's the last government, that increased the tariff on solar panels and some of the associated necessary machinery, parts or whatnot, accessories. And you made it difficult, and we do this fluctuation. You increase the tariff, you reduce the tariff. What do you exactly want? We have NEPA, we know that. But people are talking about an energy mix. We're not saying we're going to be able to completely get rid of NEPA. It's not NEPA, PHCN.
Whatever, we know them as NEPA.
When you change your behavior, then I can change your name. Your behavior is not changed, so I can't change your name.
It has to be a mix.
You have thermal, you have hydro, you have solar, and of course you have the one that's generated with our PHCN, yes, hydro. So it's a mix that will satisfy all the needs of different parts of the country. It's as simple as that. But if you're going to spend 10 billion at the State House in one hand, and then you also ban the rest of us being able to put solar panels and get ourselves out of this quagmire with PHCN.
But do you know that solar panels now
it's hypocritical.
Cheap.
I kid you not. Someone has sat down. It's going to empower a select few. So they've sat down and said, as usual, put the cart before the horse, instead of sitting down and look at things that really affect Nigerians. Listen, give Nigerians what they ask for. If I can pay for power 50K, man, can you just give me power for 50K? And let me know how to plan and spread and manage my power.
And what I'm turning off.
Don't force me on a ban that, number one, does not exist for me. Number two, I know that you're just using it for, I don't know, you want to cap that everybody's on band A and there's light everywhere. Light has been horrendous this past few weeks. People who are used to, we used to have quite steady light. Suddenly, like, there's no light for hours, and I'm thinking, okay, so this is almost like Nigerians are going back. We are very quick to remember things. In our minds, they're like, okay, so the way Loloxing was now, they've gotten back to their real nature. This is how we know them to be. If you say you're banning, why are you banning? But you want to quietly insulate your castle, your four-corner castle made in gold, which is the Aso Villa. And that's how you want to, quickly let us, so that we have light on a permanent basis. And then the Lagos State Deputy Governor is crying from 2.9.
That highlights on a basis. Remember that last year we spoke about the fact that PHCN or whichever disco came out and said even Aso Rock,
everybody
was owing money. Now the Eastern government said he went from 2.7
to 29. Is his house a factory?
Hello, it's not
even
manufacturer.
Exactly.
I know, but
Nigerians would have been laughing and doing him
his private house.
Just wanted to remind you.
I know, but even imagine what Nigerians are going through.
Do you get it? I was right. So last week, it's not last week, but recently, just a few days ago, the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, disclosed that the electricity sector generated 1.7 trillion naira revenue between 2023 and 2024. The minister said the power sector generated an additional 700 billion naira revenue in 2024, reflecting a 70% increase from what was generated in 2023. You're talking about generating much more money on top. So we're basically putting profit before the economy, before the economic situation of Nigerians. Yeah. He's very happy to say that the sector has generated it. But on what basis? Yes. On the backs of Nigerians.
Yes. Someone said that we had a guest who was talking about, I think we're talking about NAFDAC and regulation of products when they were busted in one of the eastern states.
Fake drugs.
And our guest said, no, you're looking at the monies that you see. You're not looking at the lives. I'm piggybacking on you saying that on the backs of Nigerians, we are shouldering so much.
We're bleeding blood.
What else do you want? Suddenly, because it's touching you, you're like, oh my God, wow! I can't believe 2.9 million entered 27 million.
It's not,
you know, a lot of Nigerians, exactly.
But I lacked a lot of empathy when I read that story.
But even when you say it's not his responsibility, what do you mean by that? Don't you know it's taxpayers' money?
It's taxpayers' money, but the deputy governor and governors do not deal with electricity. But don't forget that they have been empowered to do IPPs. They have been empowered to do their own electricity solutions that fit their state. Lagos State on its own is actually leading the charge in doing that, but apparently the charge is not going fast enough. Let's take a few reactions before we go for a quick
I was waiting for those. Yeah, I'm waiting for them.
How much is his salary? Would he have continued if the money is coming from his personal account? I expected him to have ordered a complete 100% migration to the solar panel system of electricity. The government can't spend more than 58 million naira, 2 months of disco bills to install it.
Yeah.
The rich also cried. Then you know how ordinary Nigerians are passing through. Everyone needs electricity as obtained in other countries, but not to be killed with charges.
Exactly.
Nigeria should be able to provide 24 hours electricity without killing the masses with high bills. The burden of life is proportional. 29 million to the deputy governor is like 2,900 to an average Nigerian, but that is just a llama bill in Lagos. Electricity bill is in multiple of 10. DPG should pay more. DPG should pay more if NEPA is not partial in their billings. Lend me your ear. The epileptic power outage in Nigeria is beyond an individual solution. Think outside the box if you must enjoy affordable power. Aso Rock example is a step in the right direction. Let's end it at that. Yeah. I'll just say that. Just be looking out for a special feature that one of our producers had done. There's a gentleman in this Lagos that has been completely off-grid for about a decade. Wow. He does not depend on PHCN or discos. It's possible. Lolo, take us for a break.
Anyway, we've seen the headlines and we've heard the outrage. But what really happened with CBEX and how did it slip through the cracks? After the break, we'll be joined by Paul Lalaje, Chief Economics of SPM Professionals, as we break down the anatomy of the crash, the regulatory failures, and why Nigerians continue to fall for Ponzi scheme dressed up as digital investments. Don't go anywhere. This will concern you, even concern the woman you buy Bolly from. So we'll be right back.
Now, the CBEX cryptocurrency crash has left thousands of Nigerians devastated and estimated trillions of naira gone without a trace. Touted as a fast track to wealth, CBEX posed as a platform affiliated with the China-Beijing Equity Exchange, promising sky-high daily returns and juicy referral bonuses. But behind the glossy interface and foreign branding lay yet another Ponzi scheme, delivering repackaged and definitely ready for the digital age. Unregistered with the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC and operating without approval in Nigeria, CBEX drew in civil servants, entrepreneurs, students, and everyday investors. many of whom have now lost their life savings in one calculated blow. But this isn't just about CBEX. It's about a deeper issue, the gap in financial literacy that keeps making millions of Nigerians vulnerable to fraud dressed up as opportunity. Until citizens are equipped to ask the right questions and spot the red flags and also demand transparency, these schemes will continue to flourish, only with new names and platforms. Joining us this morning to unpack the fallout and the lessons from this crisis is Paul Alaje. He's the chief economist at SPM Professionals. Well, Paul, welcome to Jasiri. All right, Paul, if you can, great to have you
so much for having me, and a beautiful morning to you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll just go on and ask the question. Now, CBEX wasn't the first, and sadly, it may not be the last. Now, in your opinion, what made this particular scheme so successful in attracting thousands of Nigerians, despite the growing public awareness about scams?
Thank you so much once again. CBEX became so successful for those who had planned it for their own gain, because over the time there are a number of factors that have affected our people, and I mean Nigerians, in investing in scheme like this. One of them is selfish interest of the people, because everybody believes that yes, somebody will be the victim at the end of the day, but nobody knows when that day will end. That's one. Two, we also have very low level of education for investors in Nigeria, especially those that are not so educated. But unfortunately, in the case of CBEX, I saw PhD holder put their money in CBEX, just like we had PhD holder arguing from MMM. So we have this. Among others, other people also feel that it's a miracle of some sort, as it's been argued that even religious houses promoted CBEX for people to invest in the same. Another factor that may affect this, I think is affecting this, is economic reality for many. Many people believe that, well, this is our own opportunity to make money, whether we work for it or not. It really does not matter. So there are several factors that have influenced people to put money in this scheme, where they later noticed that over 1 trillion naira has disappeared. But it's important to lay this background. Why? What do we call a pyramid scheme? Pyramid scheme is a scam organized by the people that put it together just to defraud people. And we often say in local parlance, it's a method or a system that robs Peter to pay Paul. Most of them, we have those who started it, say two, you want the two persons to bring referral to get four, bring another referral with strong advertisement, and the people they paid earlier, they become their evangelists, they become the campaigner of some sort to bring in new people into the system, into the scam, and before you know it, it goes like wildfire. So why will they fail? They fail because of what we call market saturation. It is not that the owners want it to end as of the time it has ended. From MMM to Pennywise to whatever name you want to call it, it will all end at the point that we call market saturation. The question is, when is market saturation? If you ask me, then I will tell you, market saturation is that time when they need even larger population that they can imagine. For those who run the system, when they get to their 15th line, they will need the entire Nigeria to invest. When they get to their 32nd line, they will need the entire world to invest in it. And that is why this is practically impossible. And I wish that people can understand that the more they put their money in it, the more they cry, the more they lose their ad-earned income. Yes, some people will gain, some people will make the money. That the gain of make money is not a testament, is not a complete evidence that it is genuine, or they should keep putting their money in it.
Thank you so much, Paul, for that very expansive explanation. We've seen Ponzi scheme evolve from community whispers to full-blown digital operations. What does this say about about how financial fraud is changing? And are our institutions keeping pace with these changes? I was privileged to see the platform. It actually looked like a real Forex trading platform. It was like very cool, very, you know,
it bamboozled
me looking at it like, is this thing true? Is this like a trading platform? how are we going to be? Who is keeping up with who?
Yeah.
How fast can Nigerians think and outthink these fraudsters? Because you will say that MMM, at least that one was paraded maybe from mouth to mouth. It wasn't like you could see the platform. No. Yes. And I know I didn't know anything about Pennywise, but I knew about MBA Forex. That was like Forex trading. They had to rest, they had companies. They have places you can go to. Or like this one now that has hidden this CBEX under a trading platform. So who is keeping up with who for?
Well, for me, over the years, most of these organizations get registered. To register a business in Nigeria, you only need Corporate Affairs Commission. But that you register is not sufficient. The next thing you need to do is to get accredited either by regulatory agencies, which include the Central Bank of Nigeria, Securities and Exchange Commission, before you can carry out businesses or enterprises like what CBEX has done. Yes, those who want to destroy the economy, who want to steal from you, those who want to rape you of your hard-earned revenue, they will do all the make-believe, from wonderful platform to very good office, professional staff who don't even know that they are being used. If you ask CBEX staff will tell you they never knew that they were being used. They will create so much hope, not knowing that at the end of the tunnel, I don't know whether I should say NEPA is there, because you will never see it when you want it. So most of the time, you will always lose your money. The reason is because the people that design it, they were very clever. We are now in the 21st century.
Wow.
Young people, smart people, they can go to any length to develop technology to convince you to invest your money. So we have a responsibility to ensure that whatever platform you are putting your money in, whatever name it is so called, is registered by authority. Why? So that you can have the effrontery to talk to the regulator. In the case of CBEX, it's one of those that obtain license for Corporate Affairs Commission, which is the minimum requirement for starting a business in Nigeria. Yes. In economics, we have two conditions. The first is called necessary condition. The second is called sufficient condition. That somebody has opened a business. For instance, if I have a TV station, I will go to Corporate Affairs Commission, register my TV station for to become a legal entity. But I cannot practice. Why? Until I have the necessary license, in this case for the broadcasting regulatory body. I cannot start broadcasting on air. That I register is not sufficient. And this is why I think regulatory bodies from Central Bank of Nigeria to Securities and Exchange Commission need to be very deliberate. Even EFCC need to be very deliberate about providing education rather than just looking for thief to cash. Listen, there will be a lot of people that will still come back and do the same. I remember in 2016, I was on television and radio convincing people why they should not put money in MMM. One of the person that was following me around even had their money in MMM. I was shocked. That was following me to convince people not to put money in MMM. Now MMM that time had counselors who we were asked to speak shoulder to shoulder on a radio show. And they were telling me that it would be good if you can even join us. The energy you are using to convince people that we are fraud. Imagine you are using it to make money. And I predicted, because how you know a good economist is not by the sweetness of his word, is not by the dexterity of his knowledge alone, that is included, but not so. How you know a good economist is by his projection. If they can predict to you, and I've done a number of that in this country in August 2023, I told you exchange rate will be 1.5 by March 2024. It became 1.5, sadly enough, not that I'm happy with it, in January. And I predicted for MMM, it will crash by February 2017. Unfortunately, for those who invested, it crashed November and December 2016. So this is economics. When we tell you that do not invest, please, we also want to have the money. But we are telling you that the structure, the system that runs the code, the algorithm of pyramid scheme is on arrival dead, is on arrival destruction. You shouldn't put your money in it. Why? Because those that started it have certain gains they will make. At the time it crashed, most of the time, most of the time. They never envisage that to crash. They want more money they want more people to put their money in it so that they can always enjoy their life. So, and it's easy when they run away. They get passport of another country, they disappear to the thin air, but guess who is nursing the wound? Guess who is crying? You have lost your wealth. You have lost your hard-earned currency. They have used that to raise capital. For some of them, they are even deliberate with it. They want to raise capital. Instead of going to the bank to borrow money, they look for people who are gullible. They come to assist them. Raise capital, be it at 1.3 trillion loss. It is only 300 billion. Come off it. You go to
Paul, I really need to.
You go to any business. Paul! So
I can feel the fire. Paul, I need you to come back with us.
Okay,
I need him to come back with us, and I can feel the fire and sort of the frustration in what he's saying. But the reason I'm pausing you here is I think we need to make a point about the number of Ponzi schemes that Nigerians have fallen victim to. Please, let's have those slides again. This list is about 32.
I know only 2 out of them.
32 Ponzi schemes, pyramid schemes, as Paul has identified for us, that Nigerians have fallen victim to. I'm very, very sure that almost every single person watching us has either one scheme on here that they fell victim to, or they know someone who fell victim to one scheme here. And let me tell you, Paul, the ladies have also been confessing. We've also been unfortunate victims and partakers in this. So there's our 32. 32.
I never knew.
And it's not even the complete list. Wow. We're going to take a quick time out because there are points that you raised that I want us to take up on. One of those points is why people seem to go towards these schemes but not more regulated financial investments and what we can do to change that. So Paul, please hold on. This is a very, very important conversation we're having today, and it will continue after this break. Stay with us.
All right, we're talking the lessons one can learn about the Ponzi schemes crisis. We have our guest, Paul Alaje. He's the chief economist at SPM Professionals. He's still with us on Jasiri. Paul, thank you so much for staying with us. Now, during the break, the ladies and I were in heated conversations. Which of the schemes were we familiar with? So while we know that these schemes are nothing, Paul, why do they keep popping up? From MMM to MBA Forex to Swiss Gold to CBEX and so many more. Despite public warnings and the SEC crackdowns, why do they keep thriving? Are we desperate? Is it about desperation, Paul? Is it about digital ignorance, weak laws, or just all of the above?
Many of you wants to be Paul and hoping that the next person will be Peter. Remember, they always rob Peter to pay Paul. Unfortunately, you are not Paul, so you always lose your money and they end up in Paul's pockets. I just use that analogy to say that everybody is greedy one way or the other. Economics confirms it, and perhaps that is what led to laissez-faire economics. That is, everybody feels that once it benefits them, then there is no problem. So long as somebody will come, that will be the last person. And when you see how people ask questions, we hope that we are the first to invest in this. So that before it gets, before it scatters, or before it blows, quote and unquote, as they say it in local parlance, then we would have cleaned out why those who are coming will be the victims. So this investment, you will clearly see, you know that is not sustainable, at least for people who are educated. For those who are not educated, they are looking for money juggler of some sort. And people promise that, don't worry, we've collected money. And of course they have collected money. Those may be the Pauls. Unfortunately, the people coming after could be the Peter. So greed plays a key role. Two, wishful thinking, hoping that money will always be given to people for doing nothing. Well, it's only a network in Nigeria, I will not mention name, that promised to give people an aeroplane by buying 200 recharge card. I never see a winner of that scheme till date, even though I saw the advert on television. So people hoping to win what they have not worked for, honestly, is very sad. Now, to provide education for people, you see, investments are passive income. So passive income, when people promise to pay you 20% per month, you should run. Because what they are saying for passive income, you are not selling anything. You are only giving them money and they are paying you back. They are saying they are going to give you 240% per year. That should worry you. World Bank and IMF together cannot pay you that kind of interest. They cannot. Of Nigeria cannot.
You are really shaking tables.
Put together, all of them in Nigeria, cannot pay you 240%.
Not possible.
Okay, let's pick up from here. Again, for emphasis,
how will somebody pay you? Some people will even say that we'll double your money within 2 weeks or within 1 year. It's practically impossible. And that is why, at the end of the day, many people lose their funds, many people lose their wealth.
Yeah. All right. And I keep for emphasis, I want us to put the list back up because, again, we Nigerians have been victimized and we need to get wiser. But from MMM, MBA Forex, CBEX, each crash has left behind not just financial loss, but it's also left behind broken trust. Yes, Nigerians put their money there themselves, but the trust is broken from the CBN, the EFCC, from SEC as it is. So how do we start rebuilding public trust in formal financial systems and make regulated investments more attractive? So what you're saying, Paul, is that people who are being promised what comes to about 240, 200%, even maybe 100% return on investment in a year, they're basically fooling themselves. But they don't want to go into the formal investment system because it seems that it doesn't pay them. So is there a disconnect here between Nigerians and the formal investment, the regulated investment system?
There is. First of all, let me put a figure to it. Between 2017 January, effectively December 2016, when we capture the collapse of MMM, to this month, April 2025, Nigerians have lost on record approximately 4.8 trillion naira. CBEX accounting for 1.3 trillion naira.
No.
Now, the 4.8 trillion naira, if you calculate it into this number, is over 8 trillion naira.
Paul, we need you to repeat that for emphasis. Really, really emphasize that. Nigerians have lost how much? 4.
I said from December 2016 till date, February 2025, Nigerians have lost on record 4.8 trillion naira. Our CBEX accounts for approximately 1.3 trillion naira. Now, if you look at the number in today's figure, because money you lost in naira terms in 2016, 2017, 2018, it's not the same value of naira today.
Yeah.
So if you look at it in today's figure, we have lost over 8 trillion naira to Ponzi schemes. This is bigger than some state budgets for a year. It is bigger than some projects we have invested in a particular year in, say, agriculture and so on and so forth. Even if 2 states have it and invest the money in, education, the impact will be felt in those states. So it is not that Nigerians don't have money. Nigeria have money, but they feel that the economy is not rewarding enough. And that is the beginning, first thing we need to understand. And that is where education must come. Now, I think the current system where people register investment company with CAC, display the CAC certificate in their office, and start defrauding people should stop. My advice to authority is that if we have done the same thing over and again, and we are getting the same result, hoping that result will change is a sign of insanity. What should we do? If you register with CAC, if you want to register with CAC, CAC should mandate the investment company to go and get SEC clearance.
Yeah.
So after SEC clearance is done, that is when CAC should register. We have had wonder banks in Nigeria. Central bank came with a policy. You must have approval in principle before you go to the Corporate Affairs Commission to register your bank. And that is what is in place today. I think that CAC should also do the same with Securities and Exchange Commission in the case of investment, where people will go to SEC first, get an approval in principle before going to Corporate Affairs Commission. And I think, notably, we also need to emphasize the role of education.
Yes.
You have a very credible platform here, the News Central. People are watching you all over the globe. Nigerians are watching, and they have high level of confidence because over the years, you've identified with them in their struggles.
Yeah.
Now, this is the issue of their money, and you must also identify with them. I think Securities and Exchange Commission, Central Bank of Nigeria, EFCC must come to your platform to do what? To promote education on what kind of investment works. I understand that SEC is starting investment television in a matter of week, maybe this week, maybe next week, and Nigerians need to connect. So government also needs to put money in those regulatory agencies for them to finance education. At the end of the day, if you don't, confidence will be affected. There are some people reading reports, they are reading online. They will say, Nigeria Regulatory Authority supports people to defraud Nigeria, spreading fake news. People will not be aware that they were not even registered. I saw it online when the news first broke that CBEX is regulated, they are registered with SEC. They were never registered. As of last week, do you know that there was no single report with SEC? Because we investigated and got to know that nobody that lost money as of last week Thursday has actually gone to SEC to file a complaint.
Why not?
Until we went to SEC and we asked SEC, if people have complained, what should they do? And they provided us with an email address where people can send their complaint to. And you know the shocking thing? It is not just CBEX. There are other investment companies that people have complained about. They have personally sent to me and I've advised them, send your complaint to this email address. Securities and Exchange Commission will officially respond to you and they can help you in cases where your money is still recoverable. But unfortunately, for those who have their money in CBEX, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say this on screen. I can say, oh yeah, support you. That means you may not recover your fund back because over the period of time, most people find it difficult to get their money. We have seen agencies of government like I think FCIG have tried a lot to help people recover their money. Nigerian courts, to be fair, the courts have also helped to recover money. EFCC, I must give them thumbs up. They have tried to recover money. SEC, over time, have tried to even take promoters to court. But because there was no law until recently that now say that such person will go to jail, I think about 10 years, and pay a fine of about 20 million, all of these were not in place. So different agencies of government have been trying their best. But where the disconnect lies is that if you have Corporate Affairs Commission, you can go and start what you are doing. So there must be an handshake between between SEC and as well as what's it called now, and CAC, that's Corporate Affairs Commission. Such that you cannot start any investment scheme or register your scheme, register your company with CAC until that scheme has been vetted, then SEC can give the license. And I think the role of education is important. The education should not always only be in English. English is important, but it must also come in non-Turushi, because in this part of the country, English is called Dogon Turushi. Not all of them understand this BB grammar. And to say it, most of the one you've publicized happening in the south, a lot more has happened in the northern part of Nigeria. And it's important that people were defrauded, especially on the street of Kaduna, on the street of Kano, where people don't have education. So we should bring this in Hausa, we should bring it in Yoruba, we should bring it in Igbo, and most importantly, we should put this information out in pidgin, not just in spoken word, not just in conversation like this. Also act it as drama, put it on radio series, television.
I like it.
Let the information be there. Put them on billboard, put them on TV, put them on radio, put them everywhere for Nigerians to know.
Okay, thank you so much, Paul. We'll go on a break. I mean,
you have pretty much answered my question. Although I'm still concerned about the fact that aside greed, there's also the FOMO, fear of missing out. So many people, imagine Bitcoin, for example, when it came out. A lot of people were like, "Oh, if you don't invest now, nobody would have known per se whether or not it will do well or not." But there's so many other angles we want to look at, concerning CBEX and Ponzi schemes relating to this. But we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation.
A very important conversation that we're having about not just the collapse of the digital platform CBEX, but also about why Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes seem to thrive in Nigeria. Our guest is Paul Alaje. He's the chief economist for SPM Professionals, and he has really taken us there, broken it down. But Paul, we don't have a lot of time, and I know there are a few questions we still have, but there's one in particular. As you mentioned, there are schemes that we know about in the South, and there are even more schemes, as you said, in the North. I remember when I was a student and I was home in Ogumosho, there was one called Sowodogoji. There's so many of them, and we keep emphasizing the number of schemes that Nigerians have fallen for. But there's a critical question I want to ask. CBEX spread like wildfire, mostly through WhatsApp groups, Telegram chats, and social media influencers. And as you mentioned, they even went on radio. I remember when we were on radio, Swiss Golden was massive. They used to buy a lot of airtime and come on radio. We also know, of course, you shared the situation where you were talking about MMM, and they were even inviting you to join them. So I want to talk quickly about the influencers or the platforms that allow this. What do we need to do? Should influencers in any way be held liable? Should even radio stations or TV stations? Because we're supposed to get, I think it was AdCon, adverts approval, but it doesn't seem to go far enough if these platforms or these schemes were able to spend so much time on radio and buy airtime. So what do we need to do? Should influencers be liable? There were influencers who went on their social media platforms, I've seen at least 4 or 5, who asked people to put their money into CBEX. And then what do we do about regulation of the promotion of these schemes as well?
I never even saw any.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, there is AdCon. AdCon is the one that vets advert you put up, which is your 60 seconds. But when it comes to having guest appearance, AdCon does not cover that. So there is what advert or campaign is what AdCon covers. But what I would advise influencers to do, because there is no way you can exonerate them at the end of the day, is going forward, ask for SEC license, SEC registration. If that is the body that this borders on. I noticed somebody wrote open letter to Mr. President about the failure of regulatory agency. As much as I sympathize with that person, it's important to know that a medical doctor cannot know that the patient is sick in his house until the patient comes to the hospital. SEC does not have the capacity today, to be fair, including the Central Bank of Nigeria, including the FCC, including DSS. They don't have the capacity to know who has just opened a new scheme as we are talking on the street of Olu, on the street of Popoyemoja, on the street of Akampa. They don't have the capacity to know it. So but it is us as Nigeria that must report or that must ask questions. If you want to run this scheme, yes, it is juicy, it is attractive. Can you please present one certificate? You are registered with Corporate Affairs. Can we also see your registration with Securities and Exchange Commission? Once you can do that, it's very simple. Go on SEC website. You can share what you have seen. If it's just a number, send it to SEC via an email. SEC will respond to you within 24 hours that yes, they are registered. And there are some persons that are registered even with SEC that might have misbehaved. SEC has a way, they have a hold of the people. So your funds cannot disappear in that way because, first of all, their assets will be confiscated, their account will be confiscated, and they can put lien on the account or garnishing it through a court or order, then give the money back to those who have invested in such scheme. So, to my mind, it's important for us to ask for regulatory certificates as influencers. If not, you will be promoting evil. I saw a gentleman on radio, social media, I think in Ibadan, which was the headquarters of CBEX, promoting vigorously CBEX. Unfortunately, according to him, well, allegedly, he sold his car and he put the money on CBEX and started costing people. Unfortunately, no matter how much you cost somebody that has access to your 1.3 trillion, if only 300 trillion naira is a billion naira is what is in it, I don't know how much of your costs can wash away 300 billion naira. Just don't be gullible in the first instance. I think that's what matters before we become traditional about it. So I don't think his courses can actually avail much because, of course, he made himself to be very volatile as an influencer. He could communicate with local people in their language. People trusted him and told them to go ahead and put their money in it, hoping that, and mentioning that even President Tinubu took risk. That's why he became president. I agree the president took a big risk to become the president, but I don't think the risk was not calculated. Well, at the end of the day, my advice is to Nigerians, before you put your money in any scheme going forward, please ask for regulatory registration. Number one is, are they regulated by SEC? Number two, Are they registered with Corporate Affairs Commission? Number 3, do they have the necessary certificates such as SCUMU from EFCC, so that it becomes relatively easy for us to track when these people are defrauding you after or before they defraud you, so that you don't fall victim. I give you another example. In Abuja here, somebody walked up to me and told me that he worked with an agro company, and the agro company has promised to be paying people an interest of 20% per month, and that what they are planting is what do we call it, ginger and all those. So I said, wait a minute. In agri-economics, planting has lag. If you plant today, you don't reap tomorrow. So how would you be paying people on produce that takes 3, 4, 5, 6 months before you harvest, and you are not even sure? Have you exported before? He said no. But you've already started collecting money from people that you have a scheme. I said, listen, you are working with a pyramid company, and this company cannot last beyond 18 months. I said, when did they start this program? I said they started 8 months ago. I said you have 10 months to go. Unfortunately for this young man, he only worked there for another 4 months because he lost his job. Why? The company collapsed as usual. He came back to me and said, now you have to carry your cross. How many people have you referred to invest money in this scheme? He said a lot of people. Today, he had to run for his life because everybody is after him. So it's a big deal. A lot of people are gullible, and I want to encourage your station.
Okay, very quickly, I just want you, if you can hear me, Paul.
SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, to partner with you physically in your studio and virtually everywhere, so that more Nigerians can have information.
Paul, you really are passionate about this.
Pyramid scheme works.
Okay, Paul, I need you to answer this as fast as you can, right? From the economics of it all, what lessons should Nigeria as a country take from the CBEX crash in terms of public policy, financial inclusion, and economic resilience? We're out of time, so please just answer this.
30 seconds.
The gap. We have regulatory gap. The regulatory communication system, there is still a gap in it. Corporate Affairs Commission, EFCC, as well as SEC, they need to have an handshake in terms of registration and regulation. If you don't do that, those who want to defraud our people, we keep taking window of opportunity to defraud them, and of course to cause chaos among them. Even America, that said they can do crypto anyhow, today, after the fall of one of the major cryptocurrencies that affected the financial institution, are now having a rethink, or now regulation is very important.
All right, Paul, thank you so much. We really, Paul, thank you so much. Thank you.
If not, people will lose faith, they will lose hope in us, and we will be in a big problem.
All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
So listen, guys, this is how the conversation has come to an end. It was necessary to have this conversation, and it was sobering as well. The CBEX collapse isn't just yet another scam story. It's a mirror reflecting deeper issues: economic desperation, regulatory gaps, digital exploitation, and a dangerous trust deficit. If anything is clear, it's that this cycle won't stop until we change the way we think, we regulate and respond, not just with warnings after the fact, but with education, prevention, and real accountability. Thank you, Paul, for being a part of today's show. We have to go. Bye.
Bye.